What is going on, guys? Blink here, back with a new guide. I'll be talking about rotating to the safe zone and when you should take fights or just run. Also, the V-Bucks giveaway is still going on, so make sure to visit the link in the description to enter. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications as I post an Amazon gift card code in the comments every time I upload. By turning on notifications, you'll have a way better chance of getting here first and redeeming that code. Anyways, guys, let's get to this guide. So, in this situation, the new circle came in and we weren't far at all. This was getting closer to endgame, so you want to be super aware. The circle wasn't far from us, so we never had to move until there were a few seconds left. So if you have the time, scan your surroundings for potential players holding the outside of the circle. It'll make it easier to guarantee no one's right behind you when you're running in. Now, if the circle is super far, you want to make a run for it. I'll show you an example after this one. So I spot a player hiding behind a tree and eliminate him. Now, that's one less person that can potentially be behind you. I do jump around the whole time inside the forward port because you can't just turn one way and see right behind you. Since the forward port is pretty big, I don't really recommend using it in solos, but duos or squads is fine though. A good method of spotting is jumping around like I am to avoid anyone from running up on you. So we start moving once the timer gets pretty low and spot a few players fighting up ahead. You can shoot if you're close to the circle. You never want to shoot opponents if you're nowhere near the zone because they can place a lot of pressure onto you, especially if the storm starts hitting. So I was able to knock one of the team's teammates and my teammate knocked down one of the other teammates. If you knock down a player's teammate, then you want to push. That's 2v1 for an easy kill. So the next one was a little farther, still walking distance because we were close to the end of the game. The issue with the storm hitting you is that it will hit you for a massive amount of damage and you want to avoid getting hit endgame. There was a team up ahead and once again we were able to finish them off. We now move in and we were going to set up forts at the top of the mountain, but our opponents were right there. They were a lot closer than us and should have instantly set up their forts up at the top. Unfortunately for them, they seemed pretty new at the game, which gave us the win. Now in this next situation, a player was behind me and he started to engage. The thing was, I had no time to fight and had to get out of the zone. You want to make sure to check behind you every once in a while when moving into the zone because you never know if there are players behind you, and if they are, they might end up engaging. If you don't have any sort of meds, then that engagement could have gotten you killed, especially if you aren't sure how much health you need to make it into the storm. So the most aware you need to be is moving into the safe zone. Now there are players up ahead, and should you shoot? If they're on a hill climbing one, then probably not. As you guys know, they have the high ground, and you also have to take a look at how far you are from the safe zone. If you start getting shot at from the same guy and you're still relatively far, then it's going to be harder to get into the safe zone. There were also shots up the hill, and I waited until both players fought before engaging. Got the kill on the last player and had to move once again. When the circles are close to endgame, there's a smaller walking distance but a harder hitting storm. You still want to pay attention to your surroundings, but during endgame, that's when any hilltops are the best places to be around. I end up pushing a player on this hill and getting the kill. After the kill, I rotate back onto the same hill and set up a fort and check for any players coming into the safe zone, and I end up spotting two more players fighting down below. Because I was able to rotate to the top of the hill, I'm able to spot any players below and get easier angles to eliminate them. Once again, go back to the hill and spot any more rotators. Now I was still in the circle, so I don't need to move, but I did spot someone on the other hill and made the push because he had a little bit better positioning, and if you think ahead of time, that next circle won't be on me. Went for the kill and built myself a fort in that spot. So now as you guys see, the circle isn't in again, and I don't necessarily need to worry much because there aren't any forts set up that I can see. If there are any 3-story forts set up in the circle, then you want to see if you can get some damage off on that player and push up to create your own fort beside his. I ended up pushing the last player because I knew where he was. Could have played it safe and ran into the middle of the circle and built myself a fort, but I went for the kill. If you want to guarantee a win, then rush to the middle and build a fort. Now you can defend yourself inside your fort. So in this last situation, we killed off a team but had to go pretty far. This is where you might have to sacrifice your slot for some meds. If you have 2 shotguns, you might need to play with 1 just for 10 bandages. It sucks, but you don't want to come out of the storm with no heals at all. So I did end up finding a jump pad, which was super lucky. With that jump pad, I'm guaranteed to make it in. If you have a jump pad, you usually don't have to worry about the storm too much. The issue is building up and someone tries shooting your platforms down. So if you want to be safe, build 2 staircase layers side by side. That way if you hear shots, you'll have enough time to place the jump pad and get out. If you have a teammate, he can also place another staircase layer or even 2. So now you guys have about 4 support lines. This would be good if you need to build super high. But remember, jump pads are risky, so you have to watch out. We did end up getting shot from behind and had to get on the mountain as soon as possible. So should we fight or should we keep going? We ended up fighting since we did have the jump pad. Once again, you fight if you have the utilities to make it out. Do enough damage to your opponents so they end up dying to the zone. That way you don't have to worry about them being behind you. We ended up doing some damage and keeping them in the circle long enough to where they might not make it. They actually ended up dying to the zone because we pressured them long enough. So once we made it out, we spotted a few more opponents and ended up taking the fight. You also want to make sure you're close enough to the safe zone because you don't want to shoot if your teammate isn't even close, since you might screw him over if your opponent sees him. It's also not good to engage into fights without any teammates nearby. You always want to make sure your teammate's close before engaging. So let's wrap it up. The biggest main points are if you're able to take the fight or should you run. Pay attention to your meds or if you have a jump pad and how far the circle is. If you have the meds, then you can take the fight. If you don't have the meds and the safe zone's far, then don't take the fight and run into the safe zone, and make sure to check behind you as you run. You don't want to get lasered down to 10 HP and then end up dying to the storm. The point on taking these fights is to lower the player count. You guys aren't always going to be friendly until both teams are out of the safe zone. The one with the advantage will probably engage on the players without the advantage. Well, that's it for this guide. Hope you guys have learned something new, and a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated as it does help me out a lot. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and I'll see you on the next one.